the Google Pixel 7 Pro might be the most expensive, slowest charging phone you can buy right now. But I'm not sure if that makes the overall charging experience with the device negative. Now, the other day I did a 10% to 80% charging test. The reason why is that most people in general don't let their phones ever go completely dead, and we know that Google artificially limits the max charging speed of the Pixel devices so that they don't charge past 80% very quickly. In fact, charging past 80% on my Pixel 7 Pro, the device showed me an approximate wait time of like 44 minutes at 78% charge. So we know that Google does things to artificially limit the maximum charging speed of the Pixel devices, and they do this in the name of battery health and longevity, even though their devices are extremely simple to do battery swaps on, and they've done things in the Pixel 6 and Pixel 7 series of devices that encourage users to be able to have a user replaceable or semi-user replaceable screen and a semi-user replaceable battery, or at least easier to do than on other competing devices. So for them to be taking an extra step to protect user battery life while making the devices easier to swap batteries on is kind of counterintuitive. This is extremely frustrating, especially when we see other manufacturers dealing with this differently. For example, with a Samsung device on my S21 Plus, you can go ahead and limit the maximum charging percentage to 85%. And the device will just hold itself at 85%, and they call this battery protection. You can disable fast and super fast charging if you want your Samsung device to charge at 10 watts. Samsung allows you, they give you the freedom to choose 10 watts, which would be normal charging, 18 watts, which is what Samsung would call fast charging, or 25 watts, which is what Samsung would call super fast charging. And this all utilizes the same USB-C power delivery PPS protocol that Google does. Now, whether or not this has to do with Samsung and Google being so closely intertwined right now, I don't think that necessarily matters. But we know that the Google Pixel line of devices is often marketed at enthusiasts. So not giving enthusiasts options to change some of those parameters is kind of frustrating. The second thing I want to bring up, though, which isn't necessarily a negative, is that although the charging speed of the Pixel devices has never been the fastest, when I had my Pixel 6, well, I still have my Pixel 6, but my battery experience using my Pixel 6 every day, the user experience wasn't drastically different with that device and its slow charging speed at 23 watts over USB-C power delivery PPS as it was with any of my other Xiaomi devices that charged at 27 watts or 33 watts. But let me explain. My experience with my Google Pixel 6 and charging the device with my 30 watt USB-C power delivery PPS charger, I did a review of that and I'll link it up here. My experience with that is that if my device got down to 25 or 30%, I put it on the charger and within 25 minutes or so, I'm up to 60 to 70% charge. Not the fastest thing in the world, but not particularly slow either. At the same time, charging my Pixel 6, the device never really got that hot, and the speed in which the device would charge didn't change summer to winter. And the other thing is that the device didn't really thermally throttle because of charging. The performance of the device plugged in was pretty consistent when the device was not plugged in. And this is ultimately because Google places such an emphasis on having a more conservative charging rate. It lowers heat and it overall lengthens the battery lifespan of the battery. Now, if I contrast that with other devices I had from Samsung and sometimes Xiaomi, I would plug the device in and it would get warm. and it would throttle performance the same way it would if I was doing benchmarks or gaming. And it would throttle after 5 or 8 minutes on the charger. Doing my charging test yesterday of my Pixel 7 Pro and monitoring battery temperature with a 25°C ambient temperature, the battery got to a maximum temperature of 42 degrees when it was going from that like 10 to 20% charge. But for the majority of the time span that it spent charging, it was around 36 degrees or 11 degrees Celsius more than what ambient temperature was. Now, that means that that's the battery temperature, not necessarily the overall device temperature. But when I was doing benchmarks and throttling, and I'll go ahead and I'll link a video to that up here for you guys, my performance after running consecutive benchmarks on the Pixel 7 Pro was pretty consistent. And so this makes me believe that the performance with the Pixel 7 Pro while charging wouldn't be that different than when it's not charging, because that was kind of what my experience was like with my Pixel 6. Not to say that the slow charging speed is good or that it's acceptable, just that Google is trying to give users a more seamless experience, that your device performs the same way when charging than when not charging. Whether or not that's right for you is something that you guys need to comment on, but for me, waiting 20 minutes to give me 30% charge on my battery doesn't seem like it's that big of a trade-off, especially if I want to use my device while it's charging and I don't have to worry about throttling. I mean, for example, one time while I was using my Redmi Note 10 Pro and its 33-watt charger, I was trying to stream live on Instagram. And you guys should all follow me there, and I'll have a link to that down below. It got so warm when charging that the device wouldn't let me continue streaming. I had to then switch to an 18-watt charger as opposed to the 27-watt charger I was using. And even at 18 watts, it was thermal throttling and I couldn't stream. And then even using it at a 10 watt with a 10-watt charger, the device was giving me 4 to 5 frames per second when trying to stream. Obviously, this is a fringe use case scenario, but I maybe think that I should rerun some of these thermal benchmark tests that I have and run those tests while the device is charging at the maximum charging rate possible to see what kind of performance drop off I get. Let me know what you guys think, but overall, like 44 minutes to charge from 10 to 77%, I think it was, with the Google Pixel 7 Pro is pretty slow. And I kind of prefer the way Samsung does it, allowing me to disable fast charging, disable super fast charging, enable battery protection, which limits it to 85%. I like those user options more than what Google has implemented right now. And I think that the Pixel series of devices, even though it's bought by enthusiasts, is more oriented towards average consumers. Then enthusiasts buy them and they have all of these complaints. Whereas my wife, she loves her Pixel 6a. She has no issues with charging speed. She has no issues with device performance, even when charging. So, case in point, I think Google is accomplishing the task that they're trying to set out for, but I don't know if it's the right approach for enthusiasts. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Peace.